Hello everyone, this is Sehajpreet Singh and I welcome you all to this series on Core Java. After watching this series, you will be able to understand all the concepts of Java programming language and able to answer all the questions in your Java interviews. Java is an object-oriented programming language. So we'll be seeing what is object-oriented programming and the differences between object-oriented programming and what we used before object-oriented programming, namely procedural programming. After seeing the differences between these two, we'll move on to the features of Java which make it so flexible that it is used across more than 4 billion devices around the globe and on multiple platforms including computers, mobile phones, Blu-ray video players and much more. So let's get started. First of all, what is object-oriented programming and what we used to use before object-oriented programming. So before object-oriented programming, we used procedural programming. Before we start with OOPS, let's try to see the difference between procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Procedural programming is also known as procedure-oriented programming. This is derived from structural programming. In structural programming, we divide our function into steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then we complete these steps one by one. Now, what are these steps in procedural programming? These steps are functions. Functions are nothing but small bits of code to perform a particular task. Now, as we saw that we follow a sequence, so this follows the top-down approach. In such programming paradigm, the functions are given more important than the data. So the operations which we are doing on the data are given more importance. This is not what happens in real world. This is not based on real world. Then it is less secure because we don't have the feature of hiding data. Many a times we need to hide data maybe from the user. Data hiding is not possible in procedural programming. Then if we want to add something in this sequence, it is a very tedious job. It is not easy to add data or to modify what we already have. Some examples of languages which follow procedural programming is C, Fortran, Pascal, Basic, etc. Now, when we were extensively working with these programming languages, we were facing many difficulties. One of them being we were not able to reuse what we have already written. We have to write the same thing again and again and again. We wanted to shift to a more modular programming paradigm. That is where object-oriented programming comes into scene. Object-oriented programming is based on real world. Anything we see around ourselves is object. We have our laptop, we have a mouse, we have a water bottle, we have a glass. Even we ourselves, we are objects. So we follow a real world approach. Now our program is divided into small parts known as objects. It has a bottom up approach and we now focus more on data, not on the functions. We can hide data and hence our system is becoming more secure. Adding data or modifying the data we already have also becomes much more easier using object-oriented programming. Some languages which follow object-oriented programming are C++, Java, Python, C#, etc. Now let's see what do we mean by an object. As we already talked, anything around us or even we ourselves are objects. Objects can have properties and behavior. We store properties in the form of variables and the behavior or what we have to operate on this data is done using functions. Objects can be physical like a car, laptop, pen, etc. Or they can also be logical or intangible, the things we can't touch, like our bank account. We can't touch our bank account, but it is an object. So objects are basically real world entities. In object-oriented programming, objects are an instance of a class. So now what do we mean by instance of a class? First, first let's understand what is a class. A class is a group of objects that have common properties. For example, we can say that a car is a blueprint from where we derive multiple objects. So we can say that class is a blueprint from which we create multiple different objects. Let us take an example. Let us suppose we have a class car. So this is our blueprint, and we can have different cars. We can have a BMW, we can have an Audi, we can have a Mercedes, etc. So now with each object has its own properties and its own behavior. The property of a car can be that what is the color of the car, what is the weight of the car, what is the horsepower of the car, and what the behavior of the car can be that a car can accelerate, a car can brake, a car can honk, etc. Now, talking in technical terms, a class can have fields or properties which we call methods or behavior what we call constructors, nested class and interface. Don't worry, we'll be covering all this in our upcoming lessons. Now, we said an object is an instance of a class. So, we mean that we can create objects of a class. The objects of a class share the attributes and behavior what that class has. For example, every car will accelerate or brake. Every car will have a color and a weight. And there can be n number of objects of a single class. I suppose you are clear with what is object-oriented programming and how it is different from procedural programming. In our upcoming lessons, we'll be talking about the features of object-oriented programming. Stay tuned. Let's see why are we using Java? What are the features of Java? We must always know what is the thing which we are working with, and to give you a glimpse of Java, let us see some of the most important features of it. So these are the 10 features which we are going to discuss today. Let us jump to them and see each one of them one by one. First of all, Java is very simple. It is very easy to learn as its syntax is very simple. Its syntax is basically based on C++. So if you are already familiar with C++, it is going to be very easy for you. There are no complicated features like pointers or operator overloadings which were there in C++. Then there is automatic or implicit garbage collection in Java. If we understand it in layman's language, so if at any point of time you stop using something, Java will automatically free the memory for that thing and you will not need to do it by yourself. Hence, the programmers are free from the memory management responsibilities. Secondly, Java is object oriented. Being object oriented means it's just like the real world. It is centered on creating objects, manipulating objects, and making them work together. It is, of course, better than procedural programming because it provides great flexibility, modularity, clarity, and usability. We have already discussed all this in our last video. Object-oriented programming is also more secure as it provides data hiding features. A very important feature of Java. It is platform independent. First of all, let us understand what do we mean by platform independent. When we talk about C or C++, if we write a code on any operating system, let us suppose we write the code on Windows. So that code might not work on Mac. This happens because the codes are directly compiled into machine specific codes. On the other hand, Java is a write once run anywhere programming language. It allows a Java program to run on any operating system, Windows, Linux, Mac, Solaris, etc. An additional layer is added in Java to achieve platform independence. Let us see this in detail and understand this how this happens. First of all, we have the Java code file. Then the compiler converts this .java file into .class file, which contains the bytecode. This bytecode is very similar to the native codes, but this is the extra layer which we talk about. This bytecode is then converted by JVM, Java Virtual Machine, into machine specific binary codes. Now, once we have this additional layer of bytecode, we can take this bytecode to any of the operating systems, and using the JVM for that operating system, we can run this bytecode on any operating system. For example, we can take this bytecode to Mac. The JVM of Mac will help us run it on Mac. The JVM for Windows will help it run it on Windows, and the JVM for Linux will help it run it on Linux. So, as we talked, Java compiler creates a class file which contains the bytecode. JVM executes the bytecode into machine code. Now, a point to notice is that JVM provides platform independence, but JVM is not platform independent. We have different JVMs for different operating systems. Hence, JVM is platform dependent, but it provides us platform independence. So we can say that using bytecode and different JVMs for different operating systems, Java achieves its platform independence and makes software development easy to run on different platforms. Now, talking about architecture neutral. In platform independence, we were talking about operating systems, software. In architecture neutral, we are talking about the hardware. Java has an essential feature that it will run on different machines with different architecture of hardware. Even if the machine is 32-bit or 64-bit, we do not need to worry. There are no architecture dependent features. It will run in the same manner on both the machines. In earlier programming languages like C, the data types, the primitive data types had different memory necessity for different architecture systems. But Java, it is architecture independent and occupies the same memory for primitive types on any architecture. Fifth, portable. The platform independence and architecture neutral features of Java make it portable. By portable, we just mean that we can carry the Java bytecode to any platform without worrying that it will run or it won't run. Java is robust. Robust means strong or reliable. We can rely on Java because Java has eliminated many types of error-prone programming constructs that were found in other languages. There are many features in Java like exception handling, where we can respond to exceptional situations before they really happen. We always consider all the situations and give a path to all the situations so that the program can continue its normal execution. We already talked that Java has a strong memory allocation and garbage collection mechanism, hence it's reliable. It does not support pointers explicitly, hence the possibilities of overwriting the memory or corrupting it are not there. Seventh, it's secure. Java is well known for its security. We don't use pointers explicitly. All the Java programs run under an area known as the sandbox, and they run under the rules defined in the sandbox. Then the security manager determines the accessibility options of a class. Like, can we read or write to a file on the disk? When we are trying to transmit over the internet using Java applications, the transmission or receiving is secured by public key encryption. The bytecode verifier checks all the classes after loading for any errors or ambiguities. Talking about the performance of Java. Java is faster than almost all the traditional interpreted programming languages. We mention the word interpreted over here because it is not as fast as the compiled languages C or C++. Remembering the extra layer which is there in Java, conversion from Java code to bytecode. That extra layer is there, hence it is not as fast as compiled languages, but in the traditional interpreted languages, it wins. The new JVM is significantly faster than the earlier one. It uses the technology known as JIT compiler, just in time compiler. It converts the bytecode into machine code only when we need it, only on demand basis. Then Java is multi-threaded. By multi-threading, we means that a single program can be divided into multiple independent tasks which can occur concurrently, which can be performed at the same time. We can make our Java programs deal with many tasks by defining multiple threads. Multi-threading is basically useful in server applications. A server can serve multiple clients at the same time. To increase your curiosity, there are two ways to create threads in Java. One is by extending the thread class, the other one is by implementing the runnable interface. Once we are done with multi-threading topic, you will be equipped with the knowledge to understand these terms really well. Then Java is distributed. In distributed computing, several computers work together on a network. Java is designed to develop applications that make distributed computing easy and efficient. This feature allows us to access files from any machine on the internet connected to that network. These were the 10 features of Java. I request you to pause your screen over here and try to remember the points about each of these features which we have discussed. And make sure to watch the video once again. If you're not able to remember, this is also a very famous interview question. I suggest you to study this properly. Thank you.
If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to never miss a video from Upgrad.